We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday, and just a heads up, I am recording this on Wednesday night. Um, Yesterday, you heard Tony. Today, it is Jace from Texas. Always glad to have Jace back. Um, he may be one of the few reasonably minded people that live in the state of Texas. So I feel very honored to be able to make that contact here. Jace, welcome to the show, and I've been looking forward to this.
Hey Mike, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
How are things going down in Texas right now? We got so much fucked up shit all over the country. It's hard to remember how fucked up Texas is.
Well, I mean, good news is, like you said, it's Wednesday, and so we swore in our new mayor today, the first LGBT, veteran in San Antonio. It's San Antonio's third woman, but the first LGBT, and she won pretty decisively over Greg Abbott's puppet that he put in that he didn't even endorse. So that's pretty cool. And it's nice to know, as red as Texas is, that we're still like this here in San Antonio, which is, seems like the big cities like Houston and San Antonio and Austin, not so big, but they're the more progressive ones. So it's not all a clusterfuck down here.
That's true. That's true. Well, yesterday we had a big holiday that's kind of connected to Texas, Juneteenth. Now, I know a lot of those racist motherfuckers out there are going to hate Juneteenth, but I got to tell you, I guarantee you don't even know what Juneteenth is about. And as somebody who lives in Texas, who works in education, see if I have this right. When the end of the Civil War came, they didn't have the internet, they didn't have phones, so they had to send people out to tell people that slavery is no more. And it took like 2 years, and someplace in Texas finally got the news around this time of the year, and that's why we have Juneteenth, correct?
Yeah, the Pony Express exactly wasn't like the World Wide Web. We didn't get news overnight. I mean, carrier pigeon, we got past that, but still pretty damn slow. Biden's actually going to be here, or not here, but in Galveston, I believe. I
Oh,
read
wow.
he's visiting here. I was reading about it, but I mean, I'm just glad he's not too concerned about, the hearings they're having about him while World War III might be breaking out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, well, neither, one of the problems with being ahead on the podcast and having a president as volatile as Donald Trump, as we speak right now, Donald Trump has not decided to, well, he has decided, he just hasn't given the final go on dropping bombs on Iran. And between now and the time we're talking here on Wednesday night and the time this airs on Friday, it could change fucking everything. So understand we're a little ahead of time, but Donald Trump is seems to be all in with getting involved with this war, supporting Israel. Yet 6 days ago, both he and Marco Rubio said, "Yeah, we don't endorse this, and we got nothing to do with it."
Yeah, I was listening to you and Will talk about that. It's just like in the morning Rubio said they had nothing to do with it, and then later on Trump was said, oh yeah, we're doing it. And it's just like, God, it's like we were talking offline. It's like, God damn, it's like Trump will say something and like 2 days later he'll say fucking something that completely contradicts what he said before. I mean, if
Exactly.
there's anybody that needs to be, talked to about, cognitive issues, I mean, there's your evidence right there. And we're seeing this in plain view. It's happening right in front of us.
Absolutely. Now, I watched a viral video today, and as soon as I watched this viral video, I thought of you. I thought of Texas, and I thought of you. And hopefully you've seen it. This is the interview that Tucker Carlson had with Ted Cruz. Have you
Yes.
seen that one?
Yes, I've
I
seen
don't know
parts
what
of it.
got
Yes.
into I don't know what got into Tucker Carlson, but he did a better takedown on Ted Cruz than anybody I've ever seen, including left side media. I mean, he just tore him to shreds, and he was unmerciless about this. He kept pushing him, and you could see Ted was just freaking the fuck out. It also exposed us to the fact that Ted Cruz doesn't know much more than Donald Trump.
Tucker.
Oh, we got you jammed up here
Well,
for a second. Okay, go ahead.
Tucker Carlson's not stupid. So what he's saying is exactly what the media has been should have been doing to Trump and to Ted Cruz. Hold them
Right.
accountable. Because he pretty much what I took away from it, he pretty much said, "Well, I support Israel because the Bible tells me so." I mean, it's like, what is this weird talking about nursery?
Yeah. You're jamming up again. I don't know what we got going here. Okay, now you're good again.
Maybe it's me. Maybe old Ted's trying to cut my internet signal when we talk shit about him. His ears are burning. Yeah, but Tucker Carlson's not stupid. He knows that he's going to outlive MAGA and the movement, so he's hedging his bets right now. And I think he's doing this to fry Ted Cruz because I think the Republicans, especially if they pass this bill, are in for a whole bunch of trouble. And Texas may be turning blue if Paxton runs for the other Senate seat against Cornyn. So Ted Cruz may be in for some sleepless nights.
Well, that's the one thing I've always said, and I never understood why we haven't seen it as yet. If I'm a politician and I'm supporting Donald Trump, I can see the writing on the wall. Donald Trump is spiraling. He's going to not make it through this. He's going to be on the outs at some point. He's probably going to be a pariah. And if I know that's happening ahead of time, I'm getting away from that shit. I don't want to be caught up in the crash. I would have thought there would be enough smart Republicans to have done that way before now, because you could have seen this coming well before now.
Yeah, and it's like the more crazy he gets, the either you don't hear for anything or the Republicans just amp up their support of him. I mean, it's like the Titanic selling and no sinking and nobody believes them. It's like, hey, we're gonna go down, something's happening, and they see it happening. They see some people getting on the lifeboats because there've been some Republicans that have jumped off. But I mean, I guess they're gonna stick with him to the very end. And like you said a couple podcasts ago, I think it was with Eric, you said something about it's too late. It's too late. They
It's
could
too late.
change course right now. It's too fucking late. And I think the media is finally picking up on that because even I don't know his name, but there was some guy on CNN. I mean, I don't watch CNN, but I mean, I do pay attention to, whatever, the news.
Clips and stuff.
He was,
Yeah.
yeah, he was saying that the Democrats are probably going to maybe they get both houses if they pass this bill. Hell, I think they may get both houses even if they don't pass this bill. I
Yeah, I do
mean,
too.
they're taking away. I mean, it's like you just got to pay attention. I mean, and what really may sink Trump is if we go to war, because all these tweets are coming up about how Obama was going to get us into a war. And I had somebody tell me the other day that they were so pissed when Obama gave Iran the money. And I go, you realize what they're fucking negotiating with now? And from what I heard, it's the same negotiator that was working with that worked for Obama is negotiating this. I mean, you don't change your fucking way of doing things. And it's just, I mean, if he just would have, like you said, he just would have left a lot of this shit alone, he'd probably coast to a pretty good president, but he's got to touch it and it's got to die.
Yeah. With regards to the war with Iran and Israel, and again, we're doing this Wednesday, so if Donald Trump pulled that fucking trigger, we'll talk more about it in other editions. Just bear with us here. But here's I have a theory on this. I was giving a lot of theories to Tony yesterday. My theory is this. Okay, Netanyahu wants Donald Trump involved in this Iran war, right? He basically sucked Donald Trump in. He played Donald Trump to this point. 6 days ago, we don't want none of it. And now they're all in. So Bibi Netanyahu played Donald Trump. But does Bibi Netanyahu really want Donald Trump to bomb the piss out of Iran? I don't think so. And here's why. Bibi Netanyahu needs the conflict. He needs the war in order to stay in office and stay out of fucking jail. If America goes in and bombs the piss out of Iran and it's over, that's no good for Bibi.
Nope. It's like they were both doing the same thing. It's like Bibi's got to have this thing to stay out of prison, and Trump was running for
Right.
president to stay out of prison. So they're both two peas in a pod. And what I don't think people are talking enough about is isn't Russia a ally of Iran? I mean,
Best buddies. Yeah. Yeah. I got to
they
think
were,
Vladimir's not happy about this.
yeah. And it's like, well, I mean, is Trump trying to prove he's not Putin's puppet? I mean, that's a hell of a way to do it.
I don't think he's self aware enough to do that. I think he just make snap judgments. And honestly, I've said this before, and I may be proved wrong by the time this airs, but I think this is part and parcel to the way Donald Trump does business. He sees something that somebody's doing he doesn't like, so he makes a threat.
Yeah.
And then he makes a bigger threat. And the threat we've heard to this point is on this Wednesday night is that, well, he's approved the bombing of Iran, but he hasn't given the final approval yet. And people say, why not? And he says, well, I'm waiting to see if they give a unconditional surrender. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give you a minute, but I'm going to do it. Trust me, I'm going to do it. That's what he's doing. And he even went to the extent where he said, yeah, Iran's already reaching out to us. They want to come to the White House. And Iran, of course, comes back and says, that's bullshit. We're not going to come groveling to the White House and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a cowardly warmonger. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects what Donald Trump is doing. But my point is I don't think Donald Trump initially ever intended to bomb Iran, but he's painting himself into a corner. Because if he backs off of this now, then he's going to look like a president that nobody can ever believe, which he already is, but the dumb ones will realize it now too. So I don't know. Donald Trump could bomb these people just because he can't do anything else, or he'll back off and be a taco again.
And that's the thing about it is that, it's one thing to fuck with tariffs and like say you're going and threaten like China or something who, but when you're fucking with a country that close to maybe having a nuclear weapon, I mean, well, I mean, how, I mean, I think he'll back down too. I really do. And hopefully by when they hear this Friday, nothing has happened. But you don't, you can't trust the guy.
No.
I mean, it's like, that's why so many people left his cabinet. That's why these generals, just said he was unfit to serve. And, and there was something I read that, and there's always rumors with these administrations, is that they were already saying he's not fit to serve and they're working for him. And I'm like, well, if you think he's unfit to serve, why aren't you saying something out loud and to the public? Yeah, you may get
Yeah.
fired, but you may actually save the country. It's
Right.
just no balls and just no what the Republicans are and people that work for him, they have no balls and they have no shame. Because we're talking about Ted Cruz and he's going out there posting Star Wars memes about trying to get back at Tucker Carlson. He looks like he left his dog in Cancun again, or his dog here when he went to Cancun. I mean, he's just
Yeah.
he, he's just it's like who's Al Franklin said that when he was in the Senate, he goes, I serve with Ted Cruz, and I fucking hate Ted Cruz, but
No, you got to get the joke right.
yeah,
Um, he said, I serve with Ted Cruz. I like Ted
yeah,
Cruz
that's right.
better than anybody in Congress. And
Fucking
I fucking hate Ted Cruz.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a joke. I love that joke.
What
That's classic Franken.
Well, that's the days when a senator got asked to step down because he took inappropriate photos with somebody. I mean, God, next Democrat that does something like that, I hope I mean, they need to get like the Republicans and fight that shit. They don't need to do the right thing and step down
No.
because, I mean, we all know that was a setup. I mean, the girl was obviously friends with him before, and, that's another story. But yeah, Ted Cruz is, yeah, he's Texas's problem, but, sadly for America, he's America's problem too.
Well, there's the talk about how the Republicans have better messaging. They're reaching the younger people easier with the Joe Rogans and stuff. If I'm Tucker Carlson, and I don't know how he even pulls it off, but he's popular. And he understands that time is short for MAGA, and he doesn't want to go down with them. If he flips the switch, I still wouldn't trust him, but if he flips the switch and does what he does the same way, like we did with Ted Cruz, and just goes Democratic on the shit, that would be fucking crazy. I mean, he's even going after Fox News. He's
Yeah.
going after Fox News, saying it's just propaganda for elderly people. He sucks them in, they suck them in, and they hold on to them. It's weird what he's doing, And I know some people would have the tendency to go, well, maybe I like Tucker Carlson now. No, don't like Tucker Carlson. You can't trust that motherfucker. But that's what my wife said. She goes, I don't believe him. I go, I don't care. As long as they're tearing each other down, I'm good with that. And that is a sure sign that there's problem in MAGA when they're going after each other. And that's what's happening. Not just Tucker and Ted Cruz. There are other people in the Republican Party that are going after one another. It's fucking chaotic. And if they go to war, the party itself is going to be even more divided than it is now. That's going to be the destruction of the Republican Party.
Yeah, and I just never when he was when I voted Republican, and I remember he was, I think he was on CNN or something.
Yeah,
And I can never trust anybody that wears a fucking bow tie in this day and age.
yeah,
I mean, like, is
yeah.
fucking Charlie Chaplin, busy or something? Do you need to borrow his tie? Or and who was that other was that Democratic Congressman Paul Simon wore one? And I was like, why are they wearing bow ties in this age? I mean, I don't know. That's off kilter, but he sees it's dying. Hell, Steve Bannon sees it's dying.
Yeah.
And what they're very conflicted because if they do go to war and Trump promises no wars, and I've seen some Texans down here, well, if he does that, then it's over. But I've also Steve Bannon saying, well, you may need to get on board. We may have to do this. So they're already conditioning their base to follow Trump on this one. So any cracks in there, I mean, but the deepest red people, they're red base, they're not going to turn on him. They may be a little upset. It's like those people showing up though at those town halls. I mean, they're not going to vote for a Democrat. That's why we
Yeah.
got to get out there. That's why we got to vote. We can rally and have all these. Beto had all these people rallying. If all those people would have voted, he would have beat Ted Cruz. He would have beat Greg Abbott. But I mean, I'm saying down here, people that they like the rally, that like the barbecue, that you give them the lemonade or whatever, or maybe a beer to go to the rally. But there's no prize except democracy when you vote.
And people are lazy and unmotivated for the most part. The interesting thing about this whole scenario with Iran, like I told you before, 6 days ago they said we don't want any part of it. We're not for it. Now they're all in and they're talking about bombing um, Tehran and where whatever else. And I have a theory. The reason that even came up, I think it's just what happens when Donald Trump thinks he has to strike back. He had the parade, he had to strike back. He had people talking shit about him. He's got to strike back. He goes to G7, pretty much gets embarrassed and leaves. So then when he's on his way home, I'm going to bomb Iran. I'll show those motherfuckers. That's kind of what it is. But the interesting thing about this Iran situation, it sounds oh so familiar. And I'll tell you why, because I don't know how long ago it was, but Tulsi Gabbard was being questioned at a hearing in Congress, and they were asking about Iran and where they are with nuclear weapons. And she said they don't have nuclear weapons. They don't have nuclear weapons. Um, Donald Trump and Marco Rubio didn't say they wanted any part of it. Iran hasn't provoked us in any way at this point. Somebody told Donald Trump they might have nuclear weapons, and they go, "Oh my God, let's go after it." But this sounds very similar to George W. Bush with the WMDs in Iraq, threatening, telling people about this horrible terrors that these people have, and then finding out there is none, and this was all just a ploy to start a fucking pointless fight.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I mean, Iraq did have those nuclear weapons because we sold them to them, but they kept doing like what Trump is doing right now, saying we're gonna go in, we're gonna go in. You know what I mean? Of course, they had time to move them fuckers if they did. I mean, that's just
Yeah,
the way I look at it. I could be totally wrong. I mean, I didn't read any classified documents or nothing. But who knows that Iran's not doing that right now? I'm gonna bomb you, I'm gonna bomb you. And they move all their shit to where they can't, find it like Iraq did. It's just, it kind of reminds you also a little bit of Wag the Dog when what was it
yeah,
when the Monica Lewinsky thing came out and Clinton supposedly bombed that pill factory, I guess, in Gaddafi, and where Gaddafi was at. I mean, that you hear all that shit all the time, but I don't know, man. I mean, I think you're right. I don't think Trump knows what he's fucking doing. I think that the only one that probably still 100% behind him is Stephen Miller. I mean, it's
Probably.
he and that guy, he's something else. I mean, Old Soul was talking about that thing in high school, how he went after the janitors. I mean, my God.
Yeah. I
So,
think I think Stephen Miller is genuinely mentally ill
oh yeah,
one way or another. I don't know how or what, but this guy's a sick fuck, and it sounds like he's been a sick fuck for a long time. And to be honest with you, if there was a way to get Stephen Miller out of the mix, that might tamp things down a little bit more. I mean, he's a young guy. He's not that smart, but he's evil as fuck. And apparently he has Donald Trump's ear. And when you think about the people that have Donald Trump's ear, you've got Stephen Miller, Laura Loomer, who's a fucking lunatic. And those are the people advising Donald Trump. It's just, in the first term, at least you had somebody with reasonable minds and understood the dangers of doing something stupid. Now, everybody around him is equally as stupid. They don't know what they're doing. They're they're incompetent, ignorant, and just not serious. I mean, we got all this shit going on, okay? And this is Wednesday. We've got on the precipice of war. We've got the economy fucking tanking on us. We've got deportations going on all over the country. We have the National Guard and the Marines in Los Angeles, and we got so much shit going on. And what did Donald Trump do today? What was the main thing he did? He went out in front of the White House because he had them put up two new flagpoles. He spent an hour talking about flagpoles and explaining how these are the greatest flagpoles in the history of motherfucking flagpoles. This guy is not all there.
no.
And if anybody says otherwise, I would love to debate them because all you have to do is listen to it. One of the things I love, my wife and I love more than anything, is watching Lawrence O'Donnell decimate Donald Trump every day, calling him stupid, calling him ignorant, and then showing video footage that verifies that shit. And it's that's the scariest thing. If you had a guy that was evil but kind of smart, I would still hate it, but I'd feel a little more comfortable. I don't know if this guy's going to shit his pants, get mad, and tell him to bomb whoever the fuck. Really, it's and the people around him don't have enough common sense. Pete Hegseth would say, "Yeah, that's good. We'll do that." It's there is no guardrails anymore.
I tell you what, if Stephen Miller's got, Trump's ear, he better watch out. He may have to have a bandage on that one too. That Nosferatu looking mother. I mean, I'm bald too, man. But man, that guy could be a stunt double for that actor that played that Nosferatu. I guess I said the name wrong. It's an old Dracula movie, the one that just came
Right.
out. Speaking of Tulsi Gabbard, she got in a little bit of trouble. I guess she was posting something, I guess, anti-war, and it pissed Trump off that he didn't know about it. I guess it was some kind of video that was like, calling out war hawks or whatever. And of
Yeah.
course, she's probably under the impression, I'm not defending her, but this is, working for Trump. This is the way you got to think. Well, when I wanted to run with him, he was against the war. He told me that was one of his campaign problems. He's not going to go to war. So
Right.
she feels comfortable posting that. And then he wants to go to war now because what did he say that they've gone, like he's tired of dealing with this or whatever. So he changed his course in, like you said, a couple days. So how the fuck is she supposed to know what he is for, what he isn't for anymore? And I always
Yeah.
thought, another one, Luma or whatever her name is,
Loomer.
I thought she was pretty anti-war too, because she called out like Lindsey Graham and them, because of course, Lindsey Graham's up there, getting all excited about going to war. I mean, that motherfucker, I mean, he's a war hawk. He's just one of the worst. And he's, oh yeah, we should bomb them fuckers. We should just bomb. It's like they want to bomb and hell, I mean, you kind of got to like give Trump credit for like calling them out before, but now it's like he doesn't know what he wants to do. Before he was like, it's like I was before I was against it. I mean, it's like I don't know how you can work for that, but I read an article today that Trump's suffering from hiring all these damn knuckleheads. Well, it takes one to fucking know one. I mean, it's on
Yeah.
him.
Well, the problem with Donald Trump is he doesn't rationalize anything out. As a narcissist, he's very emotional. Uh, you have to understand about a narcissist, they're deeply insecure. They're constantly trying to figure out how they're going to make themselves look good, afraid that they're going to be exposed for the idiots and the fools they are. I'd have to tell Donald Trump, you're not being too successful at it because you look like a fucking idiot. So, because he's so emotional, he's reactionary. There's no thought process behind doing anything. This is why I always laughed when people said he's playing 3D chess. A motherfucker can't play 3D chess. He can't play Candyland because he can't think fucking ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I mean, I don't get it. I've never have gotten it, you know. I just, you watch The Apprentice, and this is, and of course, I'm somebody that's followed Trump for a long time because I mean, I remember, when I remember him when I was a kid watching wrestling and he was
Yeah.
there. I was like, oh, he's cool. He likes wrestling. But then the guy was like 15. And it's like, and I watched The Apprentice and like, it's so fucking scripted. I mean, it's like you have these like celebrities on there. And I mean, there's like some celebrities on there. I mean, love him or hate him, Gene Simmons from Kiss. He's successful. He was on there. You have the guy from Poison. You have country guys. And you have Trump up there that's judging everybody. Then you have his fucking two kids that have been handed everything, going after these, these I guess could have been has-beens. These two never wases, the kids are going after them. And Trump's a and some of the most stupid shit that somebody would do that Don Jr. would say. And it's like, it made no fucking sense, but because it was his kid, he'd agree with it. And that's
Yeah, of
exactly what
course.
he's listening to Stephen Miller because Stephen's probably one of the few people he still trusts though. But I also read something that he's getting a little tired of him being so goddamn paranoid, which I mean Elon ran off with his wife. I mean, he obviously he's got issues, I mean, with, especially Hispanics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but we all know what Trump does. He'll use you until he don't have any more use for you. He did that to Elon, and a lot of these other people. And it's just like he will eventually do that. But I got to give Stephen Miller credit. He's the one that's been with him the longest because he was in the first administration too, and he's about the only one.
Yeah. But inevitably, anybody who's a friend or employee or peer with Donald Trump, they always go by the wayside. He always throws them under the bus, like you said, and they tend to hate him. And my theory about that with narcissists is that from a distance, narcissists look good. They look charismatic. They look like they're smart. They look like they know what they're doing. Anytime somebody gets close to a narcissist, they see the cracks. They see the bad shit. They see the outburst. And I'll guarantee you, in the White House, when the cameras aren't on, there's a lot of motherfucking outbursts. I guarantee you that because I've known plenty of narcissists. And people just don't want anything to do with it. I mean, we've heard that Scott Bessent, who was the Secretary of the Treasury, desperate to get out of there because he's afraid it's going to hurt his reputation. Too late, Scott. Already did. Already fucking did. And I'll bet you there are any, I mean, even the press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, she looks like she just can't wait to leave because she gets decimated every time she goes out and lies. And I'll give her credit for being 26 years old. She does better than I thought she would under pressure, but she's still stupid and she still lies. And she's 26 years old. Donald Trump could be dead for 20 years, and she's still got 20 years she's got to work before she can retire. And so there's got to be a lot of people around Donald Trump thinking, I need to survive after this fucker keels over with a Big Mac in his throat. And hopefully they should have been aware of this long before. But I think more and more people are going, oh shit, I might be in trouble here.
Yeah, you're talking about Tucker Carlson kind of jumping off the MAGA wagon. I think that I think also one of our Texas, another one of our Texas one, who's the guy that's InfoWars? That
Alex
crazy one.
Jones.
Yeah, he is he's starting to go after Trump. And I mean, I guess Trump's a global elitist now, but yeah, they're gonna use Trump. I mean, I don't know if Trump's smart enough to realize this. I mean, I actually think Trump thinks he's going to be president in 2028. I mean, I honestly think that because he doesn't,
Well,
like
I
you
think
said,
he does.
he believes that. Hell, I don't know if I'm going to be alive in 2028, and I don't eat half
Me
the Big
either.
Macs he does. So, I mean, it's like, I mean, he lives for the moment, and and it's like you said, he paints himself into a corner, but he doesn't know any better because
Right.
he thinks he's a narcissist. We both grew up with narcissistic dads. And we both know that it's their way or the highway. It's
Yeah.
everybody's fucking wrong but me. There's no thing for compromise. And that's one of the biggest problems with, I would say Washington not compromising, but that's more on the Republican side. They only use the Democrats when they actually need something. And you were saying something about that bill has to be passed by July 4th, or they're going to run out of money.
Well,
That's
yeah,
going
I
to,
thought, well, they've got what did they set the CR or something until September, but I've heard that July 4th they have to get the bill passed or they're fucking in
okay.
trouble. And I'm not sure exactly what the circumstances are, but they're dicking around with this thing and they're not doing well with it. The Senate is not buying into most of the shit. Some of the House members are coming back and saying, wait a minute, they don't have any kind of numbers to pass something like this in the House, let alone the Senate. So there's going to have to be a lot done. Now, when I was talking to Tony, he what he thinks is they'll get it passed, even if it's only the tax break for the rich.
Wow.
And I don't know that that's true, but if that bill does pass, you're absolutely right. That is a bad sign for the Republicans because people will not like that. They will think that they're getting a tax break, and they'll quickly find out that the middle class folks are not getting a tax break um, because because they said that the rich would get it in perpetuity, and we already had our tax break sundown, and we don't fucking have it anymore. I think that tax bill's really really in trouble. Will they find a way to pass it by gutting it? Maybe. I don't know. And I don't know if I want it to pass or not. I don't want it to pass for the negativity that it would bring on this country.
Yeah.
But I kind of do want it to pass because it would kill the Republicans. So I'm not sure how I feel about that.
It'd kill a lot of poor Americans too. I mean, that like you
Yeah,
said,
that's the yeah,
I'm with you on that too. But I don't know about the House because there's a one of my represent. Oh, no, he's not my representative, but he's in from Tech, another Texas, Jim, Chip Roy.
yeah,
I They voted for it, and I was really. I mean, I like to say I'm not shocked about how things is, but I was really surprised how he bent over for Trump. Because I mean, it's like it just proved that all this, all that shit they gave, Kevin McCarthy, Boehner, all those people before about cutting this budget. It's not gonna fucking do it. And the Senate supposedly went through it, and they're sending it back to where the House people they were already saying they weren't going to vote for it. Hell, they lost Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, she's jumping off the MAGA wagon. I mean, I guess her and
yeah.
Tucker can go start a new party. But yeah, I don't know if it passes. I think Eric said something about a continuing resolution. I kind of see them doing that because they also got to worry about the debt ceiling, I believe. That was part of it.
Right.
And that's something that, honestly, I kind of look back, I kind of I kind of miss the days of Kevin McCarthy because he worked with Biden to get that shit done.
Right.
And I mean, I don't miss him. He's still a jackass. But I mean, that was, and I think that says a lot more about Biden than it does him because, yeah, he was out of it. But even Kevin McCarthy said that about Biden, that he was like amazed how sharp he was.
Yeah.
That, like, and you never heard Kevin McCarthy talk shit about Biden. I don't think again after that because I think he got his respect. Not that it fucking matters what Kevin McCarthy respects, but I mean, we talk about all this shit and it's just like, I don't know. I think a continuing resolution, I don't know. I like to say I don't think it's going to pass, but all it takes is seems like a phone call from Trump because all those House Republicans were against it. Then he called them and met with them and they voted for it. So maybe
Yeah, well, he better get on it because he's spiraling and he's losing support and confidence by the minute. from the Republicans as well as anybody. They're still standing by him, but I think fewer and fewer people are willing to sacrifice their futures for Donald Trump. Now, the ironic thing you brought up was uh, the tax limit, the
debt ceiling.
debt limit. Yeah, it's funny. All the times the Democrats were in and Biden was in, oh, the Republicans did not want to raise the debt limit. We can't do that.
Yeah.
We're we're enslaving our kids. We can't raise the debt limit. Now they not only want to raise it, they want to get rid of the debt limit. Now I will say this. I think the whole concept of the debt limit is stupid because you always have to raise the debt limit. And the fact that somebody makes it a political fucking ploy to fuck with the other side is just a waste of time, and it just puts a lot of pressure on this country. Every other country around us has probably gotten rid of the debt limit. So it's just not one more procedure you have to go through that's going to end up the same way no matter what. It's just that they want to dick with each other. So they should probably get rid of the debt limit. But now that Donald Trump and the Republicans want to do it, I'm certain the Democrats are going to shove it down their throat just like they did to them. It's going to be an exercise in futility. The debt limit, nobody's going to want to be responsible for shutting down the country. And if the Democrats perceive them as getting the blame, they won't do it. They'll back out of it real quick.
Yeah, and the thing about, good way, we wouldn't have to worry about a debt limit if everybody paid their fair share of taxes. I
Yeah.
mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, we're in a deficit, and a lot of this crap is because the rich don't pay taxes. So what do? We're giving them, and I saw this poll saying, oh, the majority of the people think the Republicans were the working man. I mean, what kind of fucking shit are you smoking? I mean, it's like, it's obviously not. Are the Democrats perfect? No. But goddamn, I mean, you have the, Bernies out there, you have the AOCs out there. I mean, they did a thing down here in Texas to where I don't know what it was from, but there was some kind of, I mean, it was like $500 a month. It was nothing to the government. But our illustrious Attorney General, Ken Paxton, there was like some kind of guaranteed income, I guess, for like disabled people or whatever. They
Hmm.
fucking banned that law too. They've been trying to do it for a while. They finally fucking did it. I mean, it's like I just don't understand. I mean, it's if I just have never been able to understand how you can, take something from more or less fortunate people, I mean, it's like you see these billionaires like, Bill Gates. Yeah, he's, maybe a jackass when, comes to other stuff, but I mean, he's giving his fortune away. I mean, how many people do
Yeah.
that? I mean, I
Yeah.
guess these fuckers automatically think that they're going to take it with them because, I mean, why would they want it all? I
Yeah.
mean,
Did, did
I
you
don't get
did,
it. I don't get it.
did you hear the Fed came out today and said we're holding steady on the interest rates? Boy,
That
oh
guy's a
boy, that
horrible, horrible. He's a stupid idiot. I
yeah.
mean, Trump said that. I mean, he's like a mean girl, man. I mean, he's like the ugly mean girl that nobody listens to. And
Well, and the thing is, he's not very good at ripping into
no,
people. He's saying he's this and he's that. He's a stupid person. Might as well call him a poopy butt. But Donald Trump
yeah,
wants him to raise or lower the interest rates. And then Donald Trump, being flip or trying to joke, but could be serious too, because you never know with him. He says, "Can I appoint myself as the Fed chair?" And Lawrence O'Donnell was pointing out, this dumb motherfucker doesn't even know that he can't appoint himself. He knows he can't fire him. So why in the world would he think that he could appoint himself? This is how dumb this guy is. He has no clue. He just says whatever comes to mind and he spews it and he hopes something sticks. And less shit is sticking anymore because it's just hard to understand. I saw a video of him in 2016 at the debates with Jeb Bush, and the and then a cut to him now. The difference is stark.
yeah,
I mean, he wasn't smart back then, but he could talk fast, he could talk direct, he could make a point, he could complete a sentence, and there's just no comparison to him today as to him in 2016. He has lost a lot more than I even thought he did. I thought he was always stupid, but I had no idea how much he's lost in a step or two or 10 since 2016.
Well, you know how fucked up America is that what was that part when he was talking about his, against Kamala? I have concept of a plan. I mean, how the fuck
Yeah.
do people vote for that shit?
Well, they go,
You
he's
know?
got a concept of a plan. That sounds
Yeah.
good to me. I'm voting for that motherfucker.
And I'm still waiting for that fucking healthcare plan they talked about to replace Obamacare. And speaking of that, there's you remember how of course they're doing these these ICE raids, but they're they're arresting citizens like as we saw, and that is an arrest because you're held against your will. That is an arrest or like kidnapping.
Yeah.
And what they're doing down here is that they got like I think 8% of the wall built because Abbott back then says, well, Texas is going to finish the wall, like during first Trump's first term. But all of a sudden, since Biden's gone, and they're arresting people like Old Soul, like
Yeah.
in ambush. That's because that's exactly like you said. Why would they have a clerk there if it there were the hours are off? Why didn't they close up and go home? Because it was an ambush. But they're slowly it's and they said Republicans are quietly taking that money away from the wall. So all of a sudden the borders are fine just because Biden's gone. That is all we fucking heard about from MAGA, the borders, the borders, the borders. And Biden, it's okay, give me a bill. They do that, Trump does it. So we're seeing another lie exposed. Down here,
I,
they're doing that money, they're taking that money for other shit. Mexico didn't pay for it, so why should Texas? I was always under the impression that Mexico was paying for it, but our governor said he'd finish it and he'd be the
yeah.
first state to do that shit. I got like 8% done. Nothing. And I'm
Well,
telling you, I mean, the older that stuff gets in the sun, that wall they have now gets beat up more.
yeah.
So I'm telling you, more people get under that than the so-called Biden open borders. It's just another bullshit lie that you just sometimes want to just like remember that movie Moonstruck with Cher when she goes snap out of it. You just want to go up to these MAGA fucks and actually these people that will never vote for a D. I mean, if you're not going to vote for a Democrat, just don't vote.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I will have to give Donald Trump credit here. There are less people coming across the border. There are less people coming across the border than when Joe Biden was in. But in order to accomplish that, you had to turn this fucking thing into an autocracy, a police state, and make it a shithole where nobody wants to come. Or if they do come, they don't feel safe. In that regard, he had some success on the border, but certainly no wall. He had no clue how to do it. We had a bill to get it to happen, and of course, he shut it down. We had a nuclear agreement with Iran that Obama put together. He shut that down. We had a committee to handle epidemics and pandemics. He got rid of that. Um, I was just listening to somebody. Somebody asked an official, now that U.S. aid has been shut down, how many people have died from it? And it sounds like tens of thousands at least
Oh yeah.
have died. People going, oh my God, that's a lot of people. Yeah, but it's not as many as 1 million people during COVID, which Donald Trump was directly responsible for.
Yeah, I was talking to my boss today and he sadly, doesn't see the light. And I was like, we were talking about COVID because it came up in my Facebook memories that about 5 years ago we went back to work. We went back to work early because, we have
Yeah,
to, it's in education. And I was like, God, I mean, we had troubles before when we were like, a lot of people in there. Now we don't have anybody. And a
right.
lot, I've known five people, four or five people that died of COVID. And one of them was due to them having a party, and one of the guys was there, and they asked me to go, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go because I mean, I don't want to bring it home, give it to somebody. You got to think about other people. But
Yeah,
people have their rights, and they don't want to wear their fucking masks. And I go, do you realize how bad that's going to be? Is we don't have the scientists. I mean, we're going to be begging for people like Dr. Fauci, who they blamed just for fucking, claiming he created it. I mean, there's no Fauci's there anymore. Who's that girl that was looking at him when he was talking about ingesting bleach? And I
yeah,
literally
she's
had
gone.
like Republicans tell me, "Oh, he didn't say that." And I'm like, he fucking said it. I mean, it's just I don't know what. I mean, it's just I mean it and these are not people that are stupid. I mean, these aren't they call mouth breeders, I guess, or whatever. I mean, I guess, technically they are. But I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, and we're probably going to go through something like that because they even scaled back, I think, some of the flu vaccine too or something, and now they're not
Yeah,
going to regulate alcohol. I mean, I mean, next is pasteurized milk. I mean, they're getting rid of all the fucking. I mean, we're going back in time to where we fucking need Louis Pasteur to rise from the dead to help us out. I mean, it's fucking
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it is pretty ridiculous. My granddaughter was born on April 26th of 2020, right in the thick of COVID. And when she was first born, I couldn't get more than 6 feet away from her because my son and daughter-in-law were, pretty pretty worried about that stuff. And it was, and they were locked in the house the whole time. And my wife and I were worried about having a granddaughter who's a COVID baby because he thought you might be timid and,
Yeah.
never go outside and afraid of anything. Well, that didn't happen with my granddaughter. She's a wild girl. She's all over the fucking place. So if that was the case, it didn't affect her. But they just got rid of another vaccination committee, um, doing all the things that RFK said he wouldn't do. He's now doing them. And what I'm seeing is that there are so many things that they're messing up or just destroying. Even when we get a Democratic control in the House and the Senate and maybe even the president, it's going to take so long and so much work to put all that shit back together. It's ridiculous. It's like a kid. If you ever had kids and they have a friend, they come over the house, they just tear up the playroom, just tear it up, and then they leave. That's kind of the same thing with the Republicans right now, or a '70s band tearing up a hotel room. That's what they're doing. They're just tearing things up for no fucking reason, and they're going to leave it behind them for somebody else to clean up, as Republicans typically do with the economy.
Yeah, they were talking about RFK Jr. like, okay, heroin's okay, but not the COVID vaccine.
Yeah,
I'll inject the heroin, but not the COVID vaccine. Yeah, and Susan Collins, I saw something that I guess with those appointees that Trump's gone and she's voted for, I guess Maine, is that where she's from? Maine?
yeah,
Susan Collins. They wrote something on her about saying about if she regrets, voting for these people that have, cost Maine a lot of jobs. She goes, no, no, I don't regret voting at all. So that's a woman that needs to go. And but I mean, it's I guess these Republicans, even the ones you think are normal, you know, like her, that you thought that they're getting this sense of narcissistic that they don't think they can, get beat. And she's always the one that, she's kind of like Schumer. Well, I'm going to write a strongly worded fucking letter. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
but when she said that, and it's like I even hate hearing her talk because she sounds like one of those school teachers that just you could never do anything right with, and she just and you fucking didn't do it, but she still talks to you like you're a fucking idiot. I just hate that, and that's that elitism that they claim the Democrats have. Well, I think the Democrats talk more to the people than the Republicans do. I think the elitist is on the Republican side. But speaking of, we were talking about the immigration. There's another one came out. I can forward it to you. Some commercial. It's a guy with his girlfriend, and she's Hispanic. And ICE comes and get her, and there's like he goes, "Well, who are you?" And this gentleman, I'm your Republicans, I'm your Republican congressman and stuff. And he goes, "But she was born here, she's legal." "Yeah, but she looks like one of them."
yeah,
And at the end of it, they say, I don't know who read it, but they said the legal ones are next, Donald Trump. And that's what people don't understand. I told a friend of mine that too. He's Hispanic, he likes Trump. And I go, I grew up around people like him, people that look like me, and they want people that look like you gone. And you can say you be on their side, but if it can benefit them and they can make a wider America, they will send you away. And that's just, I mean, I don't know if that they think it's funny, but I don't think they realize how serious this is. I mean, they fucking, they're importing white people from South Africa. I mean, they know their race is dying. Our race is dying,
yeah.
which I'd say good fucking riddance because, I mean, the more mixture, the better. and it's just like, there was one of the signs at the route this at the marches this weekend. It said, "Oh, so we're afraid of diversity, but not a dictator." And I thought that fucking nailed it.
Yeah, it does. It does. But it is truly amazing how many people in this country apparently are racist. Because, you talked about the Republicans and how they're as bad as Donald Trump, or maybe they're so arrogant, they're caught up in the cult that they don't care. They think they're winning. I don't
Yep.
know if that's true. Anybody with common sense would have to see what's going on and understand they're in trouble, that they're underwater. But I sometimes wonder if they just figured, in for a penny, in for a dollar. I'm already this deep into it. I might as well try to fight my way out of it. I mean, that's what narcissists do. They get pushed in a corner. Inevitably, they're going to lose, and they just flail and fight and do anything. They're doing anything to stay alive. And I have to wonder if some of these Republicans understand that they're too late, and now they're just trying to do anything to keep their head above water.
I also think that they don't live in our world. I
No,
think that,
I agree.
with Trump getting out there and saying that, people don't know what groceries are. They don't use that term a lot. I use that fucking term like every day. I'm going to the grocery store. I got to go get some groceries. But case in point was like when I grew up, I was raised, in a Christian nationalist home, and I was, taught that, Republican good, Democrat bad. And
Right.
like I said before, I always loved Lloyd Bentsen, even though he was on that side, because I heard the man speak and the guy made sense to me. And I was even as a teenager, I was old enough to realize that. Like when he zinged Dan Quayle, that didn't surprise me at all because the guy was sharp. He was in his like what
Yeah.
70s when he did that, and he was still fucking sharp.
Yeah.
And
He
I
was
always
he was
thought
old.
it probably should have been the opposite. It should have been him probably running and having a vice president, and we may have got something there. But I actually got to go see George H.W. Bush in a speech and everything, and I was all gung ho, and I was really, really, I was going to vote for him and stuff, but I got away from that life, and I was probably still leaning towards George H.W. Bush. I definitely wasn't going to vote for Perot because he scared me.
Yeah.
But I was 20 something. I saw Bill Clinton going on MTV, talking about pot, not inhaling, boxers or briefs, and playing the saxophone in Arsenio Hall. Then I see George H.W. Bush not knowing what a grocery store. He was at a grocery store or something, and he looked totally lost.
Yeah.
That's when,
They had the scanners,
yeah,
and he was totally amazed.
yeah.
My God, what's that about?
But I think that's where the Republicans and probably there could be some Democrats too. And I think that's what David Hogg was on, that we know they've been up there too long. Anybody, I think the Mr. Global was saying something that he's not going to vote for anybody over 65 or something or 70. And I think if we quit voting for those people at that age, I think that may be a wake-up call. But I mean, it's not going to change unless they really want to change because Congress is the one that's got to make that change. And
Well, that's exactly right. People always come to me and say, we need term limits. Like they're telling me something that's a brilliant idea. It's a
yeah,
good idea, but it's never going to happen as long as Congress is responsible for policing themselves in that matter. And that may be the way to do it. Maybe David Hogg's onto something there. People
well,
just don't vote for anybody that's over 65. And that's coming from a guy who's 65. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think there's people between 65 and 70 that are probably great candidates and great politicians. I would bet Sheldon Whitehouse is over 65 and he's sharp as a tack, and I think he's brilliant. But anything over 70, it's discretion's the better part of valor. Let's not get into these old people because we got somebody who's 70 voting on stuff that's going to affect people that are 30, 20 years from now. That just doesn't seem fair. That doesn't make any sense.
and to tell you how crazy that shit is, did you see that Eric's buddy Chuck Grassley was up there having, I guess, they were talking about, Biden, hiding Biden's cognitive stuff in the Senate. I guess they were having some kind of talking about that. 91-year-old
Then
talking
hearing,
about a guy 10 years younger.
yeah.
And I didn't worry about Biden too much because that's why you have a strong support staff. That's why but the people with Trump, I wouldn't trust them to, change a tire. So,
No.
and then I think was it Dick Durbin that played that video of them, Trump, like, looking all lost and everything like that. And then, like, as the Democrats walked out, I mean, that's the kind of shit they need to do. They need to do that stuff. And I mean, we're like I said, we could be on the brink of war, all this stuff, and we're worried about a former president who we both respected and we both voted for, but we don't give a fuck about right now because he's a citizen.
Yeah.
Hope he lives a long life outside the thing. Hope he has a safe trip to Galveston, and I think that they're calling the right guy to do that because he did a lot. He did a lot for civil rights and helping out when he was president. So. But I don't worry about him because he's not in charge anymore. I worry about the guy that's in charge. And did you see
Correct.
that? I think I sent you that lady, and you probably saw it on TikTok, where that lady called into, was it C-SPAN that your buddy Jake Tapper was on,
Yeah.
and telling him how
I
pissed
didn't see
off
it.
she was pissed off at him because you're sitting here going after Biden, who's not even president anymore. But look at the menace that's in the White House now. This is an old lady. She was giving him hell. And you look at Jake Tapper, and he just smug as fuck. Didn't break a smile, didn't laugh or nothing because he's an elitist and he thinks he's better. But she fucking told him that, and I believe that's what most of the people think. Because when
Oh, I
somebody
agree.
somebody comes up to me and says something about Biden, I go, he's not the president anymore. I was told, hey, day one, I'd pay less for gas, groceries. There would be no wars. I mean, he
Right.
hasn't even been there 7 fucking months, dude, and he's like broken almost every promise he's got. He made, but I mean,
Well,
he has a concept of a plan, so that'll make us both feel okay.
yeah, that'll feel okay. Jake Tapper can talk shit about the cognitive ability of Joe Biden. The Republicans can say he was hiding his cognitive uh, diminishment. They can say all that they want. But if you're going to say that, then you have to spew some other facts. If what you're saying is true, he was also the most productive president in recent history. So if that's what we get with somebody who's cognitively declining, I'll take that because you tell us Donald Trump is not cognitively declining, yet we hear him talk and we see the results, the fruits he bears.
Yeah,
Joe Biden was a success as president. Donald Trump is president for 5, 6 months, and he's a absolute failure.
yeah. It's just. I mean, it's just another fucking thing. Like people wake up. I mean, he does it. And he does it in the cameras. I mean, fucking like you said, talking about fucking flagpoles. I mean, the most beautiful flagpole ever. I mean, it's like the big beautiful bill. I mean, who fucking calls it a big beautiful bill? That had to come from Trump. And it's just like he calls the Fed guy. You might, like you said, you might as well call him poopy pants. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
little kids do. Well, I'm not there. And it's like it's just, I mean, I miss having adults run this country. And I'm hoping that a lot of other people see this shit because before it's too fucking late. So, I mean, and I'm not, and I try to, I listen to you, and you helped me get over a lot of the doom and gloom. But I think something, in me when he won in November, something in me clicked off that I can't be afraid. And it's like Will said yesterday, there's more of us that, Americans aren't gonna, they're not gonna take this shit lying down. I know that, we're
No.
letting a lot of shit go, but like if they try to pull some of this shit like they did in South Korea, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of pissed off people. And it's like I think you said that, a lot of people have guns in this country.
Yeah.
They're not, this isn't like Australia where they took them all away or whatever.
Well, just
But
sheer numbers of people.
yes,
We had the No Kings protest with anywhere from 5 to 10 million people. And they said, we're going to be out there in full force. We're going to push you back. We had Trump-la-fucks saying, we'll be out there kicking some ass and doing. Nobody did anything. You know why?
no,
Because there's too many of the motherfuckers.
yeah.
Too many people with reasonable minds that are pushing back. And if we got 5 to 10 million that time, if this world's in trouble and we're going to take it back, you're going to see 20 million out there. Good luck trying to enforce martial law if that happens.
Yeah, and I think people are exhausted from this thing because it's like every fucking day it's something else. Like I read today that there's a waiting list now for Ford because their parts, I guess, of the tariffs. You don't hear about the tariffs anymore. I mean, you don't
No.
hear the news talking about the tariffs anymore. There was actually something on CNN, and I shit you not, they were talking about, well, as Trump breaks all the norms and stuff. I mean, the article literally said, well, Trump's breaking all these stuff. Why didn't Biden do more to stop this? I mean, the fucking article literally said that. So now they're blaming Biden for what the shit Trump's doing. I mean, they pretty much said in the article that he's breaking the law, but why didn't Biden
Yeah,
do more of this? Biden could have put all these executives order. Trump gets up there, he can fucking null them like he did,
yeah.
like. I mean, that's elections matter. That's one thing that I always learned. Elections matter. Whatever you do, vote. And it's
And if
it's
you fuck up, you don't get to blame somebody else. That's
no.
a Donald Trump trick. If you fucked up and voted for the wrong guy, you better own it and then do what you can to fix it because you did it.
Yeah, and I'm reading all these. I was reading BuzzFeed. They were talking about how uh people are really the people that I guess the MAGA parents are really shaming their kids, especially the younger generations. I guess maybe Generation Boomers and Generation Xers kids aren't talking to them because they voted for Trump. And it's like even
Right.
worse this time. Because like I get it, you do it the first time because he was an outsider. Then you voted for him in 2020, he lost. But then after the January 6th and all the shit he's done, he's a convicted felon and you vote for him. Then a lot of people, they're calling him out for, hey, you voted for a felon, Eh, you know, I mean, how can you do that? How can and some of the kids are like, gay, LGBT, trans, or whatever, and you voted against me. You say you love me, but you're going at a guy who wants to totally destroy, their existence. So you see a lot of like, I don't know if it's the media or whatever, but they're shaming these younger people for doing this. I've done it. I've cut off a lot of my family. I mean, I put the occasional stuff on Facebook and they don't really respond to me anymore, but I don't actually interact with them either because of this and because I go there and it's like I grew up with around racism my whole life, but Trump when he won, it's like he gave him like a voice. Like,
Right.
like you said at one time that you thought all that shit was gone. It was just hidden and Trump, opened that stuff up again. And people ask, why didn't you talk to so and so? Because I choose not to be miserable. My fucking life is short enough. I'd rather hang out with the family that does love me, that aren't racist. I'd rather hang out with my dogs, be on the rational boomer. I don't want to be fucking down there in MAGA land. And I mean, I'm surrounded by it. I don't have to talk to them just because they're blood. And I don't blame those people at all that, you cut them off because, a lot of those MAGA people would probably cut their kids off if they married into a minority or had or were gay or something like that. So turnabout's fair play. But when you vote for that, you're exposed. You gotta face the consequences that, people feel a certain way. And I don't blame them at all for cutting them out of their life. You don't need that in your life.
It's one thing if you have an argument and cut somebody off because of political reasons. And I think that's where the mistake people make. People think that people not interacting with Trump voters, it's all political. It's just a political thing. We're family. It's just a political thing. No, no, it's far bigger than that.
Yeah.
If your kids joined a street gang, how would you handle that? Because that's essentially what Trumplafucks have done. They've joined a street gang and they're marauding around doing damage to people and the country. And people will say to me, well, what if they realize it and they want forgiveness? Well, here's the thing. You can forgive them, but clearly we can never trust them. And if we can't trust them to hurt us, it's better to be separated. Like you, my father was a narcissist and I didn't see him for 25 years. And people say, you can't hate your dad. He'll die and you'll feel bad about it. Well, he died. I don't feel bad about it. Um, but after all the years with him away, people said, you can't continue this hate. I go, I don't even think of my dad. My dad's inconsequential. I'm a dad. I don't need a dad. The problem I have here isn't about protecting myself. It's I know what he brings to the table. I know the dark cloud that follows him. I can handle it because I dealt with it all my life, but I'm not bringing it to my family. I'm not bringing it to my kids or my wife or my grandkids. I'm not going to do that. So the best thing I can do is stay separate from that, whether I wanted to or not, whether I wanted to make amends with my father or not, knowing what I know, it was my duty to keep that negativity away from my family. And maybe I'm rationalizing it out, but My father did die. I got the call, and honestly, I had no emotions at all about it. And I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just that it'd been so long and it'd been so bad that it really didn't matter anymore. It wasn't like your father died. It was some negative entity that's gone, and thank God for that.
I think what I kind of like, I went through the same thing. I didn't talk to mine for a few years, and we got back on track after his dad died, and had his relationship, but it was never the same. And so when he was dying, he told me, he treated me so bad and everybody else that it reminded me of why, that he got to the point to where I didn't hate him anymore. I didn't feel anything for him.
Right, right.
When he died, I cried a little bit because I was there when he died, because I remember the man that I used to know when I was a little kid, the man I thought I knew, because he was a lot different. Well, I was a little kid too, and I think when I grew out of being a little kid, he wasn't enamored with me anymore. So I learned there that you have to sometimes cut people out of your life for your own mental being, because you have people that just, they're negative Nellies. They are like, you said it right, an entity, like a demon from hell. I know
Yeah,
that's what you meant, but you have to sometimes cut those people out of your life for your mental health. Because, I mean, when you're getting dragged, it's like abused people or women or whatever, and they're in an abusive relationship, that it's so bad that, people wonder why women vote for Trump. And if, a lot of them would think for themselves instead of doing what their husband says. I mean, you go in there, but they're so beaten down, a lot of them, that they will vote for Trump, and maybe they don't want to, but they think that's what they have to do to be subservient. And that's just something, you have people stuck like that their whole lives and are just miserable. I just, both of us chose not to be that way. And that's what you got to
yeah.
do. And that's what those people are doing right now. It's not about, reaching out and talking to somebody, because in my experience, the people that I've cut off, they're not going to change. They're not
Right.
sorry they voted for Trump. They're 100% glad they did. I haven't really met a Trump-a-fuck, and that includes my family, that have regretted that stuff. Oh, he kind of freaks them out sometimes, but they still go back to supporting him, and that's just something I can't get over.
And if they say to me, well, I was wrong. Well, I had somebody on the live and he says, yeah, I regret it now. I regret it now. I said, did you vote? When did you vote for him? He said in 2016, 2020, and 2024. I said, you regret it now. You regret voting for Donald Trump. But in November of 2024, November 5th of 2024, in spite of the 34 felony convictions, in spite of the adjudication for being a sexual predator, in spite of stealing classified documents and giving it to adversarial countries, you were cool with him then. But now somehow you're not. Strikes me as that something's now impacting you and now it matters. You know, I apologize for not applauding you for now finally seeing the light, because it strikes me that you were more than willing for him to do egregious shit until you thought he was going to do it to you. So you're not only a victim now, like a lot of people are victims, but in my mind you're a villain because you were fine with other people getting hurt as long as it wasn't you. Excuse me if I don't fucking forgive you.
Yeah, I mean, your actions have consequences and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you just go and vote for the guy because he's got machismo, which he doesn't have, I
No.
mean, you're talking to somebody that, voted for W twice. I'm a Texan, so I did that. I voted for McCain. I voted for Romney. I didn't vote for Obama, which I regret, because I look back on Obama and I was like, man, I wish I would have voted for that guy. I would have kept my
Yeah.
McCain vote, but Romney can fuck off. And then I voted for Hillary because I knew, as much as she's been vilified to me, she killed Vince Foster, she did all this shit. I still knew she was better than Trump. And when Trump was coming out there, this life, I mean, I voted for a lot of, I mean, right now it's kind of even now voting Republican and Democrat. I'm about 8 times, 4-4, I guess.
Yeah.
But even I was like, no, this isn't, and because I could see somebody that used to believe in that stuff, because back then I somewhat believed in God, and that's pretty much what religious people do. They vote Republican, which is crazy.
Let
And
me ask you something. Let me ask you something. In 2016, where were you with your dad?
my dad was dead. He died. Actually, he
Okay.
died 10 years ago this week. Yeah,
People
he
will
died
ask me,
he would have died right before Trump. He would have loved Trump.
yeah, no doubt. But people ask me why I hate Trump so much. And I have a feeling that you disliked him for the same reason I did, because I recognized the behavior. I'd experienced the behavior. I knew
Yes.
what was going to happen and I know how it was going to end. And he reminded me of my father, but in a bigger way. And I'd experienced that for the 23 years or 22 years I lived with him. And I said, this ain't going to go good. And I have a feeling you maybe recognize that same thing.
Yeah, my uncle, his younger brother, who I mean, I loved him. I wish he was my dad growing up. He would always, man, your dad's a goddamn racist. I mean, he would always talk about my dad being a racist. My dad was a, he would talk shit, but he married a Filipino woman. Go figure, and that's
Yeah.
another story. But I'm not Filipino, by the way. That's my stepmother, in case people
All right.
mistake me for Filipino. And I went to go see him after my dad died, and after Trump, he had the flag and everything, and I go, damn, you sound just like Danny. I mean, he was like, what? And I go, that's how he talks when he says shit like that. And it's like the thing about it is my dad he got married again and he had two kids. Well, I think I've talked about this before. My brother, he's about 13 years younger than me. My half brother, he died at 33 back so 6 years ago. And I had to drive from here to Nashville. I was fucking frazzled, man. I mean, I was just me and my brother were pretty close. We were different. Of course, religious way and political wise, because he was like I was when I was that age. I wasn't living in the real world. And he died, and my uncle, same one, called me and goes, well, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know. But that motherfucker drove 5 hours, about the same miles to get to see Trump drive by and wave at him.
Yeah.
So
Of
none of
course.
my dad's family really made an effort to go. I was there with my sister and I was there with my stepmother. None of my dad's side with me but me. And I've always kind of been the one that's always gone and visited, and that's always in that those days are over because yeah, my brother and me, we disagreed. Yeah, he was a Republican. He voted for Trump. He wanted to be a preacher. I don't know if I never got to talk to him that much about, I kind of left that because he's my brother and he wasn't a MAGA guy, I guess, but I accepted that. Of course, it's before the insurrection and all that stuff. I don't know how it would have been, but my family, when I saw that Trump meant more to him than his own blood that he never got to know, then that was just enough for me. And it's just when my brother died, a lot of my quote unquote feelings for my family died to know when something like that traumatic happens, this, that, it wakes you up and senses you. And I think and when you talk about hating Trump for that reason, that's the way, because a lot of people I thought I knew, I'm seeing the real them now. And that's very disappointing. I mean, the truth always comes out in the wash, they say, or whatever, but it's kind of disappointing to see some people you really respected, and it's just funny to see him try to give me, try to preach this agnostic here about religion. And I'm like, that guy on the other side holding the Bible upside down? He probably believes in God as much as I do. He
Yeah.
doesn't think he's a God like he does. I don't think I'm a God like he thinks he is, but he probably believes in God as much as I do. He doesn't.
Tell you how insidious narcissists are. I've explained how my dad was a malignant narcissist. There's no question. Now, his mom and dad, my grandparents, I love them. They love me. They love my brother and my sisters. We were very, very close. Okay. Uh, if it weren't for my grandparents on both sides, I would not have been normal. My grandfather on my dad's side is the one I feel the most akin to. We have similar personalities and such. My grandmother was a little intense, but I was kind of her favorite, and she liked my brother too. And so it was a really good, close relationship. We used to get in their car every weekend. They'd pick us up, and we'd go up to our family cabin every weekend with my grandparents, and our mom and dad would stay home. Okay. When I became an adult, and even though my mom and dad's marriage was never really good, it was really getting toward the end, although they never got divorced. And my dad left the house, and started talking to my grandparents. Now, understand, my grandparents knew exactly who this fuck was. They raised him. They knew his negative side. They knew he was a liar. But when he stepped away, we're raising our families and doing this kind of stuff. He convinced my grandparents, who I was close to, that my brother and I, my sisters and my mom were the bad guys. They were putting it upon him. And for 3 years, I really didn't talk to my grandparents um, because of what my dad did there. And it amazed me that they would buy into it because they knew him as good, as well or better than anybody. They raised this guy, but it was insidious enough that he was able to convince them that we were the bad guys. Now that eventually came to an end. And I remember this when my grandfather's on his deathbed, not the day he died, but he was dying at the time. He grabbed me by the hand and he said, "Do me a favor," because he knows he's going to be gone. He said, "Tell your grandmother to keep an eye on your father. I do not trust him. I do not trust him. Tell grandma to keep an eye on your dad." And I said, "Well, I would have done that anyway." Years later, of course, my father, tight for money, does, and here's a guy who's wealthy all of his life, but toward the end, he just lost everything like Donald Trump will, and he did kind of grift some money out of my grandmother, unbeknownst to her until after the fact. So these people can talk certain people into things that they know better, but they will buy into it. I saw it in my own family. I'm seeing it with Trumplefucks now, and it's truly insidious. I don't know how they pull it off, but somehow they do.
You talk about your grandparents. Um, this past Sunday was Father's Day, as we both know, and
Mhm.
and it's always kind of bittersweet to me because I talked about how I cried and my dad how he used to be, but also he didn't pay child support or he wrote checks. They had these things called checks and they bounced, back in the day. And if it wasn't for my mother and her mother, my grandmother, we would have been homeless. So my grandmother was more of a man and more of
Provider.
a provider than he was. So I mean, it's just because you're blood with that doesn't mean you necessarily have to do it. And I know we kind of went off on this, but I know exactly what you're talking about because they did that to my step grandmother. One of my uncles ripped off a bunch of money from her, and it's just, I mean, I guess maybe that's why I feel so. I don't have a lot. I mean, I'm not freaking loaded. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I do okay. I mean, I got a roof over my head, I got a couple happy dogs, you know what I mean? I got a car, I got a job, but I just never understood how people take advantage of other people. And it's just I've been in places before to where I could have when my dad was sick and dying, he wanted me to like take some money and he gave me his access his checking account. I could have wiped him out. It'd been my word
Yeah.
against his. Because I mean, when I was doing it at the time, I was taking care of my mother because she was sick. So what I did, I was, it was tough. She wasn't working. I was helping her out, and I could have wiped him out. I could have just taken on that, but something in me, and it was my mother and my grandmother's raising that, that it wasn't the Christian raising that I got because these people embezzle all the time, especially where I grew up from.
Yeah.
But I could have wiped him out and he wouldn't have known nothing. But he had, but I told him, no, you let Ida, my stepmother, take care of that. I'll mail the letter and I'll set everything up for you, but I'm not touching your checkbook. Because sure enough, I set up a couple of those appointments up, and a couple of months later, he called me and go, "Hey, why didn't I take that on my check instead? It was just direct deposit for his, Cobra or whatever." Because I knew anything that he let me access to or gave me came with stipulations.
Yeah.
And I asked him one time when I was in the early about I asked him to help me with the college. And he goes, "Well, have your mom do that." And so I never asked him for another thing in my life. And my stepmother, when he died, was, "Oh, yeah, he was a good father and all this stuff. And he wanted to, send you to college." I go, "Really? That's news to me." Because I asked him, he told me have my mom do it. And she was like, "What?" So, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, I learned a long time ago. I mean, I never cut the relationship off. I guess I'm more mad at myself for not doing that sooner. But
Yeah.
when you have siblings involved, when my brother's gone and my sister doesn't talk to me, so it's like I lost it anyway. So yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta get off your ass and live for yourself because nobody's gonna take care of you in this life. And that's one thing he taught me is this life's a fucking can be a fucking bitch, and nobody tried harder to do it to prove that to me than he did.
Yeah. When I when I was in business, it was funny how many times I run into malignant narcissists, and they're always trying to put one over on you, you
Yeah,
know. And my wife would always say, "How can you deal with these people?" And I said, "Well, I have to deal with them because the majority of these people are them. But you can feel confident that I know exactly who they are, and I know exactly how to deal with them, and I know how to put them in check, and I know what these people do." The malignant narcissists don't like confrontations. They like bullying you and then you just back it off.
yep,
And as you might guess, I'm not one of those guys that back off. And so they will try to do something to screw you out of money. And they're being nice about it. But then they try to rationalize as to why. Well, I'm doing this because of this, because of this, because of this. And a normal person would say, oh, okay, I guess I see that. And I would say, fuck you. You either give me my money like we planned, or this is fucking done. And they don't know how to deal with that. They're not used to being pushed back. And that's what I had to do when I was in business. And frankly, it got very tiring. It was very reminiscent of dealing with my father and watching what Donald Trump is. But I had to in that situation because they were all over the fucking place. Everybody I talked to thought they had the biggest dick in the world. And I learned a lesson how to deal with those people, you know? People would call me up. I got to the point you can mess with narcissists. They're easily manipulated. Okay. Um, and I would say, okay, I got this product and it's available for this much. And so people would call me and they would say, yeah, I really want it, but I'm not paying that much. Nobody pays that much. I'm not paying that much. And I'd say, okay, thanks very much, and hang up on them. And they'd call back and say, what are you doing? Why aren't you negotiating? Because I told you the fucking price. And
yeah,
they said, well, I'm not going to buy it for that price. I said, okay, thank you. If I can hang up on them. It was weird, the mentality, because they're suspicious of everybody. If I said, hey, you want to buy this because it's a great deal and it'll save you money and you can make money here and you can do all this, and I was selling them on it, they were suspicious. Why are you trying so hard to sell me on it? But if I said, here it is, motherfucker, if you want it, buy it. If you don't, fuck off. And then they start thinking to themselves, oh my God, what am I missing? Why didn't
yeah,
he want to try to sell it to me? I must be missing something. And then they call me back and pay me what I want. It was weird, but you could learn how to manipulate these people. And once you do, you can play them all over the place. I told the story. I went to my dad one time and asked him if I could have a mini bike. He said, no, I'm not buying you a mini bike. You're not buying me a mini bike. And my dad had plenty of money. Within 6 months, I had a mini cycle. My brother had a ATV, and he was so caught up in it, he bought me a racing motorcycle that I had no business of in riding because I was able to change his mentality. It would be cool if your son was a motorcycle racer. It wasn't enough that I would be on a bike having fun. Yeah, if he was racing, that would be cool. He did the same thing with sports. I had some success in sports. He was into sports he never had any interest in, but because his kid and he had something he could show that made him look better. And that's all you have to understand. Make them look better or push them back and kick their ass, and then they fold. Um, and I wish more people in government understood that tactic, especially the media, like we've talked about before. If somebody said, well, like that Moran guy that got fired. He was pressing Donald Trump, asking questions, or like Tucker Carlson did to um, uh, Cruz.
yeah,
You can't just say, well, what about this? And then they tell some lie and you move on to the next thing. You got to say, no, wait a minute, motherfucker. You just said this, but you said this before. That's a lie. Explain that to me. And you keep pushing them. And you have to do that with narcissists if you want to beat them. You got to corner them and you got to beat them. And nobody did it to Donald Trump in the media. Nobody did it to Ted Cruz until the other day. And this is why you get run over because you let them fucking run you over.
Yeah, and I think he's finding that out. Well, remember how they were saying that it was even somebody from Fox was saying that he's, how he's having this parade. There's going to be these counter protests. Oh, I don't believe you. I don't
Yeah,
believe you. I mean, even from Fox. But he's finding that out like when he was at this G7 it's like all these countries are laughing at him and talking shit at right in front of him. But I think the rest of the world has realized that they can't rely on America anymore. I mean,
right.
obviously now they can't, so they got to band together. I mean, they weren't going to, and they weren't going to let Ukraine into the what was it, NATO, I guess. Now all of a
Yeah.
sudden they want them to do it because they know that the world's better with a free Ukraine, and the and I lost my train of thought.
Don't you think that when Donald Trump left the G7 abruptly, it
Yeah,
could have been something with Iran, but I did notice something in it. Like when he was giving his little speech and going off the rails, and Mark Carney said, "Yeah, we're cutting it off here. This is my country. This is my show. You're not going to be able to
yeah,
babble about anything you want." And then when he sat around the table, he wasn't the star of the show. In fact, everybody around the table was going, "Jesus Christ, who is this fucking clown?" And
yep,
I'm sure he got that vibe from them that he wasn't the star of the show. First time around, everybody deferred to him because he's the president of the United States. But now they know who he is. It's like what I said about narcissist. From a distance, you go, oh, he may be tough, he may be strong. But once you get to know who he is and see the things he does, you're not afraid of that motherfucker anymore. You're appalled by him. And that's what was happening in that G7. And I feel like it was just like the little girl or the little boy that goes to a party and doesn't get enough attention, said, well, I'm just
yep,
going to go home. And I
yep.
think that was part of it.
Yeah, and I don't think they're afraid of him as much as they were in the first time,
No,
because they've seen him back down. I mean, they've seen they've everybody's seen the taco, stuff. That's exactly what he did. And I think they were saying something about a lot of those deals that they made with China that they're like about the same. There's nothing really changed.
no,
So
nothing's
he's
changed.
just that he's like he said he's that mean girl that doesn't get enough attention. So he just takes his ball and goes home. So yeah, he that's why he likes these rallies. And now he's selling his
Because
own
he's in
fucking,
control.
yeah.
He's
And
the
now
star.
and now he's going to be selling his fucking cell phones. There was like somebody saying that, there's no way they can do this because they don't have the factories to build them here. I mean, it's like they'd have to build the factories or whatever, something like that, that I
Well,
mean,
did
it's
you
just
hear what
another scam.
did you hear what his son said? He said, "We got this and it's 49 bucks a month and we got
Oh,
this and eventually it's going to be made in America."
yeah.
Oh yeah, when Donald Trump sells me
Yeah,
something's
exactly.
going to happen like healthcare, like infrastructure, like the wall, I'm going to trust him that those phones will be made in America.
But they bought, I mean, it's like what was that guy that didn't he buy somebody was saying he bought a fake Rolex or something that it wasn't even a real Rolex you're talking about. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
and Steve Bannon went to jail for fucking, I think I was for jail for ripping off, or was it not testifying? One of the things, or ripping, didn't he go to trial for that ripping off MAGA for building the wall?
Yeah, he went to jail for contempt of
Yeah, that's
Congress.
what it was.
He's still in the midst of a trial or a prosecution for ripping off MAGA people, saying he was going to help them build the wall, and he just pocketed the money. So he hasn't gotten accountability for that yet, but that should be coming. And
Yeah.
basically the way he's talking, I don't think he's getting a pardon from Donald Trump.
And you think about all these cities too that he ripped off that he didn't pay back though when he had those rallies. Like,
Yeah.
people were, I mean, he was before he got president, he was really hurting there for a while. Remember he had to actually sold part of his plane and now he's getting a new one from Qatar. I mean, I mean, it just amazes me that, he said it best. He loves the poorly educated because there's not, and I tell people that too. There is nothing that guy will do that will turn you on him. And that's what I was talking about, the family that I don't talk to anymore because that's who they are. Because
Yeah.
he thinks the way that is, he thinks, I talked to somebody today and he had a little bit of a tan and he's a Trump fuck at work. And I go, you're looking kind of orange there and stuff. What do you mean? I go, you're starting to look like your president. Oh, he's not orange. Really? He fucking told me that. He's not orange. And I laughed at him and I'm like, okay, Oompa Loompa. I don't think he appreciated that very much. But he's the same fucker that called me a Marxist because I'm a Democrat. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm a pretty good shot.
Yeah, if somebody called me a Marxist, I would say, well, that's interesting. Please define a Marxist for
Yeah,
me,
they
because I
don't know.
guarantee you they can't define a fucking Marxist. They perceive Marxist, socialist, and communist all the same thing, and they aren't.
No.
Donald Trump was on TV today talking about flagpoles, and it didn't look like he had much makeup on. He didn't look orange. He looked kind of a pale shade of gray, is what he looked. He didn't look very good in that
They
fucking
don't look
video.
good. Yeah, but you can only put so much makeup on a turd, right? Or lipstick on a pig, as our buddy Sarah Palin would say. And it's funny you talk about Trump and you talk about Tucker Carlson. I remember when I was kind of coming out of my Republican thing, and I remember they had Sarah Palin on. I think she was like some turkey thing where the guy behind her was like literally killing turkeys. And
Yeah.
the people that were filming it had to put her there because she's such a moron. And back on Alaska, how she talks and stuff. And literally killing turkeys behind her. And it was like, we kind of, like, God damn, dude. I mean, at least they were like stupid. Now they're criminally stupid. So, I mean, she was just a, idiot, but now they're getting to the point for where they're dumb and I mean, it's been 7 months, Mike. I mean, it's like 6 or 7 months. I mean, it's like he's done more damage. And what my kind of fear is, it's going to take a long time, and I just hope people are patient enough, whoever takes over. I mean, even if there's like-minded Republicans, because if they can get like, bipartisanship to where, I don't think the same way you do on some things or whatever, and they can, work
Cut a
together.
deal.
Yeah, cut a deal, get stuff. That's the way this country is. That's what, we've always done until I mean, I think this all started with Newt Gingrich and, the Rush Limbaughs that did all that stuff because,
It is.
I mean, he was going after Bill Clinton for, having an affair while he was cheating on his wife with cancer. So
And
yeah,
breaking up with her when she had cancer.
yeah, and you gotta get back to that to where, and I've always said that too, is like not everybody thinks like I do. I mean, there's people that, want religious stuff. I don't, that's not important to me, but my thing is that I think everybody should have equal rights. You pay taxes, you should have equal rights. A lot of people don't think that way. That's why you need a counterbalance and you need not a good guy versus bad guy, but you need people on there that are a team that can work together and get this shit done for all America, not just MAGA.
That's why I probably wouldn't be good in Congress,
Uh,
because I know not everybody agrees with me, but
yeah.
motherfuckers should. They should, because I'm right.
But you think about that and you kind of, if anybody hasn't seen the John Adams documentary that was or miniseries that was on HBO
Yeah.
with I forget his name, but there's a lot of people in that store, and hell, I mean, you think, oh man, it's never been this divided. Hell, they used to have fucking duels. I mean, Aaron Burr,
Yeah.
anybody remember Aaron Burr? But it's like George Washington, he was stepping down and John Adams was taking over, and he was saying, I'm about to leave and you're about to take over. Let's see who's happier now. Because I mean, even Washington was vilified. I mean, he was a motherfucking general. Abraham Lincoln, all the great things
Still is.
they've done, there's always a critic, and there's always a critic. And but now it's like what social media is good for, like, finding reaching out to people and seeing people you haven't seen in 20 years and making you realize, oh damn, now why not talk to them? But everybody's got a comment. And I
Yeah.
think when you become an adult is when you start ignoring the comments. You just, because you have to, like, grow up out of that you're not everybody's going to like you. And I think that Trump's under the impression that everybody likes him because your favorite president, I mean, I know he's not talking to me or you. I mean, he's
Yeah.
just a president for MAGA. That's all he is. He's not a president for me and you.
I mean, that's one of the things you have to do. I know by doing what I do, not everybody likes me.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't fucking care. I don't care. I
Yeah.
got more people that like me than I thought I did, so that's good. I got
Yeah.
that working for me. And you brought up duels. I would love to see them bring back duels. Can you imagine what it would be like taking Donald Trump, put him in a locked room with Jasmine Crockett, and just give him a couple of shanks and see how it works out? That would be hilarious.
My money's on her. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there ain't too many
She's
representatives from Texas that I really like, but she's definitely one of them, and I think she's going to
well,
be a big star. I mean, she may be our first woman president.
she
It's
could be. It'll be
the way
a little while because she's new, but
the way
but
the demographics are changing. I mean, there's more minorities, especially in Texas, where we're being bred out, and that's what scares Republicans so much because the white race is dying out. I mean, they
it
said in
didn't
a few
take
years,
Obama long. It didn't take Obama long
no.
once he got in.
And that's what kind of sucks about Obama is I think if anything, he should be president now. I
Yeah,
mean, but history happens. Like Bo Biden wouldn't have died. Biden could have maybe won. After Bush, and
yeah,
then ran 8 years, and now Obama could be there because we have this great speaker. And I once again I said I didn't vote for him. I always liked Michelle Obama though. If she would have ran, I would have voted for her. But I read Obama's books. I was late to a party on him. I just remember people around me telling me how bad he was and what he was saying, and honestly, when he did his first, I think his inauguration, and I remember like my friends were just so pissed. Oh my God! And I listened to him talk, and I'm going, I don't think that's so bad. But I was still in that kind of bubble or whatever, but I mean, it's a shame that we don't have him now because I think he's even more confident, maybe had a few more years in Congress or whatever, because everybody knows he voted president a lot. It's funny now they don't mind that, but he didn't have any experience, they say. But I mean, can you imagine who's now? I mean, if it would have been Biden and Obama, I mean, it's just, man, it's just,
yeah.
and
Well, the
nothing
thing
against Hillary, but even Hillary.
Well, the thing with Obama is Obama. If I was to say the negatives about Obama, is I don't think he was strong enough. But he was the first black president. He was kind of making a transition to a whole new experience for this country. The Republicans did everything they could to shut him down, so he didn't have as much flexibility as some presidents. I thought he was a good president. It was nice to have a clean presidency. Nobody got indicted. Nobody went to jail. Nothing like that. I think if Obama at his age now was president, it would be a much different situation, and
Yes.
be whipping some people up. Let's be honest. When Obama picked Biden as vice president, he did it for a reason because
Right.
he didn't have experience, and Biden had a ton of experience.
Hell, you think about Biden, how Obama really wasn't for gay marriage, and and Biden's the one that was.
Yeah,
Hell, Dick Cheney was for gay marriage before Obama, because I mean, a lot of that is the church he came from, that they, gay bad. But you can eat shellfish though, even though in the same, there it says not to eat shellfish, not to pay interest on a loan, and not, like they did that thing about the Ten Commandments down here, and one of them
yeah,
called it out. I go, you're not supposed to work on the Sabbath, and we're passing this bill on a Sabbath. So I mean, they pick and choose what they want to do. But yeah, seeing Obama speak, and a lot of people go, well, where is Obama now? I mean, Obama don't know that's a fucking damn thing. He did his term and he's respecting that. He's not like Trump, it didn't go away.
right.
Sometimes I wish,
He's writing books and giving talks and
yeah.
doing what a former president should do.
But you look at his confidence now. I mean, you look at his confidence now, he maybe was too young to
Yeah,
get that. But people, but what gets me is a lot of people that voted for Obama voted for Trump, and I'll never understand that either. That
yeah,
I mean,
that's a
it's like
contradiction.
and it's like, and he didn't beat. I mean, it ain't like he beat Hillary or Kamala by a lot either. It's just
No,
those, and I think a lot of it, especially with Kamala, is that Democrats didn't show up. Have all the rallies you want to, go to all the thing, but fucking show up to vote. You got to
yeah.
fucking vote.
It's funny about Obama. Obama has been the only president we've had that's younger than me. Every one of them's been older than me.
Hmm.
And Obama's like a year or two younger than me. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. Finally, somebody a little younger. He was in his 50s, or maybe 49, 50 when he won. And that's part of why Obama did well too because he was not an elderly guy in the late stages of his life. He had a future in front of him. He had young kids and he had a reason to fight for things. All these old people that, want to get rid of Roe v. Wade and take money away from kids and take
They're
food.
not knocking anybody up
They
anyway.
can't they can't even have kids anymore, for
Yeah,
fuck's
exactly.
sake. They
Yeah,
can't
and
have kids.
I'm sadly to say, Mike, that we're always the forgotten generation, but I don't fucking think Gen X is going to have a fucking president. I
I
remember
wonder.
I was talking about Kamala, and you were telling me that she's technically a boomer. It's like you fucking took that away from me. Damn.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're going to have it because I mean, shit. I mean, Gen X is getting up there too. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
I'm 53. I mean, and hell, maybe Hakeem Jeffries someday, but he's about my age. But I don't know, man. I think the is it the millennials after us?
Millennials, yeah.
Yeah, I think we may have a millennial president if we ever have a Gen X president.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, mainly because in 2028, we know the majority of the voters are going to be millennials and Gen Zs. They're not going to vote
Like,
for fucking Chuck Grassley, I guarantee you that.
because even isn't is well, I guess Gavin Newsom maybe he's a Gen Xer, but Pete's not. Pete's probably a millennial. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get because I mean
I
it's like to 80 something, and you think about people born in like 1980, 81. I mean, they're already fucking 40. I mean, that's hard to fucking believe.
well, I'm a boomer, but I was born in 60 and boomers go to 64. So the oldest Gen X is what?
I'm
62?
72, 50. Yeah, well,
62?
I'm no, it goes up to like doesn't it go to like the late 70s up to or is it when is it? I just know I'm in it. So I thought it went up to like 1980 or something.
It could be. Boomers go from 46 to 64. I was born in 60, so I'm a young boomer. So 64, that becomes the Gen X. So if that's 4 years younger
64 to
than me,
80.
we're talking
Yeah.
about 61.
Yeah.
61 is the oldest Gen X. So it's conceivable that we would get a Gen X president. Well, Jace, I'm going to wrap things up. We went a little long, but that's cool because it's my fucking show and we go as long as we want to go.
Yes,
But I
sir.
appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, as it is everybody else I have on the show. I have great fortune in guests. I don't have a bad guest amongst them.
Well, I appreciate it, Mike. And shout out to Mr. Paul McCarthy on Wednesday, celebrated his 83rd birthday. I mean, he's come a long way from singing about when he's 64. So, hey, Mike, we still have a lot of years ahead of us, rocking and
Now
rolling.
you said Paul McCarthy because you were thinking of Kevin McCarthy. It's Paul McCartney. Just because
McCartney,
only
sorry.
because I know somebody's going to come in the comments and
I
say you
shouldn't.
dumb
Yeah, I
fucks. You
know.
don't
I
even
shouldn't,
know.
but I'm not going to read them anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And for those of you
Appreciate
listening,
it.
thanks for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.